alive. They see alive. Look at that family. See alive. See alive. See alive. See alive. Guys, when I see that guy when they just hold just now the guy when he be say he buy a friend. I will play the video make una hear him. Me get one guy when he analyze the true story about what happened, because me I don't really know what's up. This very guy when he want analyze the story, so now I really know what happened. See, beware of friends. Now best friend use best friend to do money ritual. So best friend.
This is why we gotta be careful the kind of people we keep as friends. So this young man went missing around September of 2024. His name is Paulinus, and it is said that Paulinus owns one of the biggest boutiques in Ughelli, Delta State. He's a Calabar boy who moved to Delta State to start up a business, and obviously he was very successful at it. While in Ughelli of Delta State, Paulinus became friends with a young man named Efemoni. Efe played the role of a good friend very well. He was a good advisor to Paulinus, telling him where to set up another boutique, giving him good investment ideas. He was pretty much in Paulinus' business as a friend. Although it's unclear how long they have been friends, but it is believable to think that they have been friends for quite a while, because he is the closest friend of Paulinus. However, around September or October, it was reported that Paulinus vanished. No one had heard from him. His boutiques were still functioning. Remember, he's a boss. I don't think he is the one staying in his boutique. So he just creates this boutique and supervises them, and he has employees in it. But he just vanished. No one heard from him. His family in Calabar also stopped hearing from him. Eventually, Paulinus' family gets a call from Efe, letting them know that Paulinus had been kidnapped and that the kidnappers are now demanding millions in ransom. Paulinus' family were panicking. He is the breadwinner of the family, and I think his family are also well-to-do in Calabar. I'm not very sure, but the family, panicked, and they trusted Efe, and they started sending money for the kidnappers. So the family are clearly in another state, while they believe their son, Paulinus, had been kidnapped in Delta State. So Efe, who they know as the best friend of Paulinus, becomes the middleman between the family and the kidnappers. So the family are sending him the money to give to the kidnappers. And every now and then, he would tell the family that, yeah, they are demanding more money. It is believed, according to the activists who made this case very public, that Efe may have collected a total of 20 million naira from Paulinus' family to give to the kidnappers. Apparently, the only thing now is the family were not hearing any positive news. He had also told the family not to involve the police. This is what kidnappers usually do. Don't involve the police or your son will die. And the family listened. But after spending that much money, they could not speak to their son, they could not see a video of him, they could not know that he was alive. The family had to involve the police. And the case was reported to the police headquarters in Delta State. And an investigation started immediately. And this is where Efe pretty much shot himself in the foot. Because where is the kidnappers now? The family now have been saying that they've been giving him the money. So now the police needed him to see, okay, what phone numbers were you communicating with these kidnappers? Where did you drop the money? Whose account did you transfer the money to? We need those details to trace the so-called kidnappers that took Paulinus. And that was where it became a roadblock for Efe, who probably clearly did not think ahead. He probably thought the boy's family were going to probably let it be for God or something, or he thought he would continue. But now the police needed information to find these kidnappers, and every single investigation the police carried out, checking Paulinus' account, his bank transfers, even asking him for the money that the family sent to him to give to the kidnappers, the money was still in his possession. They never left to anywhere. Checking his transaction is going to contractors, engineers, which they now discover that Efemoni was actually building a house, all this while that his friend had gone missing. This is a picture of the house that the police were able to see where most of the transactions were going into. And this is where the police were left with no other option than to question Efemoni. Where is your friend? Because at this point, there is no kidnapper. So where is Paulinus? This case was on the low. It's not clear what his interaction with the police was. Some people are saying he was trying to bribe the police until the activist Israel Joe spoke up and brought the case out, which now infuriated Efe, who then made threats to Israel Joe, saying that when he comes out, he's going to come for Israel Joe for posting his pictures and making the story public. And that is one of the good things about making stories public. That is why most times when people go to court or are dealing with police cases, they tend to come on social media to talk about the case so that it is public. Otherwise, the next thing we would have heard would be that he paid 1 or 2 police officers to run away from custody, or he paid or bribed 1 or 2 officers and then they let him go free and they threw the case away. But the fact that the case was now in public pretty much tied the police hand to get to the bottom of this. Somewhere along the line, the case was transferred to another police station, a police DPO in Ekpa, and that was when they really drilled Ifeanyi, and eventually the truth came out. And boy, this is not something that anyone was prepared for. Ifeanyi eventually confessed to have killed his friend Paulinus and beheaded him for the purpose of money rituals. He had lured him to a shrine in a place called Otokutu in Ughelli, where he was eventually overpowered, killed, and then beheaded. His head was buried in a shallow grave and his body was dumped in a river. Not only that, at the time they did the killing and dumped his body in the river, 3 days later, the body began floating and they got the information. Efe got the information that the body he had thrown in that river was now floating, and he went back to that river, paid boys to sink the body deeper with rocks. This is a headless human body, and he still went far out of his way to make sure that that body never resurfaced again. The native doctor was arrested along with Efe, and the few other people who may have played a role in the disappearance of Paulinus were equally arrested. And eventually, they led the police to where the head was buried and where the body was kept. And I'm not sure if the body was recovered, but the head was obviously recovered. And people got to see it in Ughelli. A lot of people's reaction were really disappointing because they knew the story. They know the guy. His boutiques are very popular and they are quite big and successful. So to hear that he went missing and the person who did the killing was his close friend, who they now somehow say was in charge of Paulinus' investments, which I don't believe, by the way, because let me tell you something. I don't believe Ifeanyi was ever the one in charge of Paulinus' investments. It's one of those things that you get to say because now the police are doing their digging and their investigation and they're realizing that all his money is going into your account. So for you to come out of it, you have to claim that you were his investor or investment manager or something. And I think that's where the word or the rumor came about. It could be that he was also the investor, the investment manager. That would actually make sense that gave him access to all the money that he had for his friend, which would give him a good motive to kill. But I just feel like he was one of those friends that when he was able to get access to this boy's money, probably know his PIN since they are friends, know his password, he just found the perfect moment to strike. Now, there were also claims that he himself was not actually doing bad, that he is well-to-do for some weird reason. He's not bad, like he's doing well for himself. It's not clear what he does. But I guess this is one of those cases of greed and jealousy and hatred for the fact that this young boy comes to his own town and then he's making so much money. Some people are just like that. I don't even know why people are like that. That's why you got to be careful of your friends. If you see friends who show you a little bit of jealousy, that is all the sign you need. I'm sure Paulinus saw a lot of signs. Like, unfortunately, he's no longer here. But if he's given a chance to look back at his timeline of friendship with this monster, he would most likely remember moments that gave off vibes that he was a jealous person. And that is one thing as a friend that you got to pay attention to, especially when it involves money. Let me tell you, when it involves money, people become monsters. Everybody can vow that I will never kill. When money is involved, people turn into monsters. And him going to kill his friend and bury his head, I also don't believe that's for money ritual. I just feel like he gathered all these people up to find a way to kill this boy. Burying his head one place and removing his body was a way to make him disappear so that nobody notices. Because if his body has floated with his head, he will be identified and that would lead back to him. So what most criminals do is they try to separate or butcher them. That's why you see them do it in parts so that the victims will not be easily identified. Which would give him a good motive and stay missing. That way, nobody would be charged with murder. I just feel like it was one of those friends now, according to his confession, that he took the boy to the native doctor and for money rituals. Which I'm like, okay, was it really for money rituals or because you wanted his money? If the money rituals was because you wanted his own money, then maybe that is what money rituals is. But I know that he already knew what he was doing. He had already planned it ahead of time. He knew how much this boy had in his account. He probably had access to his ATM. He knew that his family would actually be able to afford the 20 million naira. And that's why he kept going back and forth with them. And I think he probably would have gotten away with it if he did not go after the boy's family to collect that 20 million naira. If he did not play the creation of, oh, kidnappers need this, kidnappers need that. If anything, Seth, if he was smart enough, he would have maybe tried to pretend to be the kidnapper over the phone. But he made himself known to the family as, I am your son's friend, Paulinus, and the kidnappers have reached out to me. And this is what they want. So, Mama and Papa Paulinus, you people should give me the 20 million and let me give it to the kidnapper. Thinking that the family is stupid. Maybe he thought they were just old people in the village who cannot read and write and probably don't know how to call a police officer. And now that the police have been involved, they didn't even suspect himself that much. They were like, okay, as now they speak to the kidnapper, so Nangwanu, let's see, give us the details, which number the kidnapper they used to call you. Give us all the things you have on the kidnappers, let's get them. And everything he could provide led back to him. If he hadn't done that, he would have had a high chance of getting out of this. Because he was in police custody for a while when they were questioning him. So nobody knew what was going on until the activist, Israel Joe, brought it out in public. And I think that drew more attention to the story. And unfortunately for him, whatever he had planned in his story to the police while in custody could not work anymore because now everybody knows. And Delta State is not the place where a story like this will happen in a place. People will talk. Ughelli or somewhere, let's just say maybe Ughelli or Saple, there are places in Nigeria where people may not even care as much. Maybe in Lagos. But Delta State is not one of those places where something like this would happen and people will not talk. You can hardly get away with it. If someone sees something in Delta State, they will speak. Everybody else will hear it. So it was unfortunate for him because people knew the story, people knew the boy, and he was already in the mouths of people who were already suspecting him on the get-go. People were suspecting him. People who knew him were suspecting him. At the time your friend go missing, that is when you're building a house. And maybe the boy would have gone missing because he's not a popular person. Paulinus is not popular. So people never even know. Maybe they would even assume he traveled. If they had just killed Paulinus and laid silent, people would assume he traveled and never came back, or he went somewhere else and never got back. But he took it a step further to create the narrative that he had been kidnapped. And he would have stopped it there, but then he took it a step further again to say that the kidnappers are asking for 20 million. You see what greed can do? This is what greed can do. Took it a step further again. See, greed is just I love how greed finds a way to expose people. To let everybody know that, the kidnappers need 20 million and bring money. And now the police are here. Who is the kidnapper you've been sending it to? You've been sending it for zinc and sand. Well, those are not kidnappers. So, busted. It's unfortunate. I just feel bad for the Paulinus. I just hope the police are able to recover a lot of the money. The house is building should be taken and handed to Paulinus' family. As simple as that. That is just what it should not. It should not be one of those things police will seize property and turn it to police station. This is not EFCC, Yahoo. The house that this motherfucker is building with Paulinus' money should be, even if it was not using Paulinus' money, everything he owns, his car, anything that belongs to him, and money that he has been sending to his own family, they should go to his parents and collect those money back and hand it back to Paulinus' family. Because that is how it's supposed to be. The boutique can keep running. It's a business and it's his legacy. If he had kids, I'm sure, or siblings, this would actually take care of his family. While they just keep him in jail forever. We don't need,
So guys, when I don't hear wetin that guy talk, abi, when I see the kind of life when we can dey live now for this world, what a painful death. Person wey be say they do well, you get mad, you want to go use your friend for money to try. You see, I always they tell people, not be all blood that they take. Not be all blood. Not be all blood. You get some blood when you take, you go dey useless for your life. You get some blood when you take, immediately they go still catch you. Now be this guy on also. Please just type and rest in peace for this young man. Type rest in peace. This guy never planned for this. But this idiot just take a whole human being life when he don't create. Now God will punish her anywhere when he did. Watch the video.